It's our final season here at Newcastle United, and after winning the Carabao Cup, the Europa League and the FA Cup, our eyes are set on the two remaining pieces of our Infinity Gauntlet. And after a third place finish with 85 points, we are heading in the right direction. The same can't be said in the Champions League though. Our director of football wasted no time trying to sign Owen Vindel for 63 million, but he rejected the contract. However, he moved straight on to a Brazilian new gen from Cruzeiro. Although he does seem decent for £11 million release clause, he probably won't see much gameplay this season. But hey, Patreon members, if you want to take this on after, I will be posting this right as this episode drops on the Patreon so you can enjoy. He is also determined to get a centre-back as he puts in a bid for Kamara. But he rejects us too.
What?
So he decides to go for Morata from Benfica instead. He's a great defender, I'm just not really sure he's the best on the market, but still, a good pickup. Then he went in huge for Raspadori for £72 million alongside Man City. If he does choose us, I will probably switch to a 3-striker formation simply because we have so many options now. But of course, he chose Man City.
Ooh, how convenient.
So we go into the Community Shield with just Morata debuting, but no defender could stop Saka curling this into the top corner. Souček put one in from the penalty spot, but unfortunately we lost the game when Saliba scored a header at the back post. Our fixtures are tricky at the start of the season too, with both Chelsea and Man United to play in the opening 3 games. We fell behind against Chelsea when Lukaku scored a penalty, but thankfully from a corner, Sudakov turned in the flick on and we drew 1-1. And we followed it with a win and a fantastic game for the neutrals against Fulham. We got a fast start at Old Trafford and Jimenez scored within 2 minutes from Rabiot's through ball. And when the corner was headed back into our possession, we found Souček in space on the edge of the area, 2-0. Sancho did pull one back in the second half, but we left Manchester with all 3 points, gaining 6 more against Brentford and Crystal Palace. And after a very quiet start to the transfer window, on deadline day we secured the signing of Wilfred Ndidi for £50 million. Obviously best suited as a destroyer type of player, I feel like this was the Kamara alternative. Someone who can play in centre-back or centre-mid rather comfortably. Our Champions League fixtures start a lot easier than they end up with a trip to the Bernabeu. But the European campaign didn't start great when we lost 1-0 to Red Bull Salzburg. Thankfully, it was a much better result for us against Fenerbahce. We will just be without Ndidi for the next match as he picked up a straight red card. In the league, however, it was 6 points from 9 with this 1-0 win against Norwich. And another 1-0 win against Leeds. Unfortunately, in October, it was another 2 draws in the league against Spurs and Everton. The latter suffering from a 94th minute equaliser by the Toffees from a direct free kick.
Piss off, everything's going wrong.
And it doesn't get any better as Man City eliminate us from the Carabao Cup. Did I say it got even worse? Because we were on the receiving end of an absolute tonking by Portuguese giants Porto, who blew us away 3-0 in our 3rd Champions League game, with PSG up next. Before that though, Sudakov rescued a point against Manchester City in the league. And even though we had drawn 5 games from 12, we were still sat in 2nd place, just 2 points behind Liverpool. In the Champions League, we lost to PSG at home, and then we drew away to Marseille 0-0. Putting us in great danger of being eliminated during the league phase with 3 games to go. Thankfully, things picked up in the league against champions Arsenal and we defeated them 2-0 with both being scored by Mexican striker Santiago Jimenez. And we followed that with a 1-0 win against West Ham, before losing for the first time in the Premier League against Leicester. We played a lot of winnable games in December, including this easy 5-0 win in the Champions League. Our only difficult game of the month came at Anfield in the league and we fell behind to Curtis Jones's opener. Thankfully, we put ourselves back into the game with an excellent goal by Jimenez. But Darwin Núñez timed his run perfectly, and when he received the ball, our goalkeeper just couldn't keep the shot from trickling over the line. A 0-0 draw was the only other points dropped this festive period though, as we did win another 4 games, still keeping us in the top 3 and just 3 points off Liverpool. And it's 4 in a row, by the way, for Erling Haaland in the Ballon d'Or. The new year though began with a tricky visit to Villa Park as Viti put us ahead early. It was the young English wonder kid Tesco whose outrageous shot found the bottom corner. But we didn't let that ruin our attitude and we pushed back, and Ndidi eventually put us ahead again, followed by an attacking midfielder Florian Wirtz's goal. In the second half, it was Tesco who scored a second for the Villa, but we won the game 4-2. But this 1-1 against Wolves was the start of where it all went wrong. We drew Liverpool in the 3rd round of the FA Cup and was eliminated immediately. And the same fate loomed over us in the Champions League after losing to Inter Milan. We needed a win at the Bernabeu to stay in the competition, but Valverde made that task even harder. And then while defending a corner, we gave way too much space to Vinicius Jr. Gonzalo Ramos gave us hope when his outrageous strike nestled in the bottom corner. And Jimenez had an 84th minute penalty to equalise.
He's bloody missed it! What a prat! What a...
We finished in 26th and eliminated from the Champions League. And we did suffer defeat against Chelsea, but we got a good win versus Spurs back in the Premier League. Against Man City, I thought the worst when Haaland somehow managed to score this. But we fought right back and scored within 2 minutes through Sudakov. And we flipped the game a whole 180 degrees when our Turkish playmaker scored the winner. And Liverpool, who seem to have also had some dodgy games recently, find themselves just ahead in the league on goal difference. The director of football left it late in the month before he made his moves, including this accepted bid for Zakarian, who then rejected the offered contract. We also made a move for Arsenal striker Gabi Jesus, but he chose Real Madrid over us.
How dare you?
His next target was French centre-back Evan Ndika, and a £44 million bid was accepted from Frankfurt, with this deal actually being completed. He's great, but I do have one question. Do we really need him with Viti, Todibo, Irakovic, Inacio, Danulic, Morato, and Sven Botman? No, we don't. That's 7 centre-backs. Well, it's a good job we also signed Josko Gvardiol then.
I can't believe it!
To be fair, he's probably our best centre-back now, but still, buying an actual right-back will be good as we don't have any. He brought in a new-gen left-winger instead. Idiot! Anyway, with us out of all other competitions, I guess we could just focus on the Premier League, and February brings a clash against top of the league, Liverpool. Against West Ham in the game before that, we left it rather late before finally taking the lead. And then it seemed easy when Souček scored a second from the spot and Sudakov made it 3. Against Liverpool, we seemed so comfortable. Gvardiol robbed Salah of the ball and found Ramos with a very accurate cross. And in the second half, down the left again, the ball was played over for Ramos to nod into the path of Ndidi. Easy 2-0 win, followed by the same result against QPR. And just like that, we take a 3-point advantage with just 9 games left. Liverpool still have Champions League football as well and the EFL Cup final to play. In March, we only had 2 games, starting with this 1-0 win against Leicester. But despite our easy schedule, we still dropped 3 points when Wolves scored in the 91st minute. Liverpool could only bag 4 points themselves, gaining 1 point on us going into April with Arsenal still sniffing around. We then beat Everton 1-0 through Florian Wirtz. Then Gvardiol smashed in a rocket against Arsenal for another 1-0 win. Hail to a 1-1 draw at the Amex, however. But Liverpool dropped more points against Brentford. And against Man United, we took just 17 minutes to set Gonzalo Ramos free to score. Eriksen's free kick, however, found Salas in so much space. But in the 85th minute, we scored the scrappiest winner ever, once again through Gonzalo Ramos. An awful goal, but hey, they all count. And with a game extra played, we are now 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League. Luck seems to be on our side too, as the man who never misses from the penalty spot had his penalty saved by Dennis Seaman. And in the 89th minute, we broke down the left and stole all 3 points against Brentford. But Liverpool were too busy rescuing their own 3 points in the Merseyside derby, as they scored 2 goals in injury time to break Evertonian hearts and take the decider onto another week. Unfortunately for Liverpool, we had a rather comfortable game at Carrow Road and found ourselves 2 goals up by half-time through Souček's first and Sudakov with the second. Matija Viti then made it 3 right after half-time, and we popped up with a 4th on the hour mark once again through Sudakov. Liverpool also won 2 games though, meaning the league title goes down to the final game of the season, but with a Champions League final ahead for them as well. But they scored super early when the ball looped up for Salah in the 7th minute at Anfield. However, Norwich from a free kick turned in the rebound for an equaliser just 21 minutes gone. Liverpool need us to lose though, and after 28 minutes we finally have a goal at St James's Park and Ndidi shots to flex off Sudakov for the opener. It stayed that way until half-time, but straight from the off, Sudakov's ball found Ramos, who made no mistake doubling our lead and putting one hand on the trophy. And just 2 minutes later, Gonzalo Ramos does it again, scoring his 2nd of the game and Newcastle's 3rd. Capped off with a 4th and crowning Newcastle United champions of the Premier League. Wilfred Ndidi scores. Hilariously, former Liverpool striker Danny Ings actually scored a 2nd for Norwich and cost Liverpool any final day points. But for the first time in exactly 100 years, Newcastle United are champions of England. And how much did it cost my director of football across 5 seasons? A total of £929 million. Hope you really enjoyed this series as much as I did. Let me know down in the comments what you want to see next. And of course, subscribe because we'll be bringing more challenges just like this in the future. And of course, my dad set that impossible target of 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Please help me get there.